Hi, I'm Jen. Today we are talking about how to make day-to-day decisions. We get a lot of questions here in the Sonlight app. Oh my gosh, this shadow is so weird, but I'm in the car because this is homeschool mom life. Okay. We get a lot of questions about what is the right way to use maps. Should I skip a book? Does my high schooler need to take calculus? And it would be really, really easy if there was one right answer for every kid in these situations, and there really isn't. And so I thought that I would talk with you today about how I have learned to make those kinds of day-to-day decisions over the course of homeschooling for 20 plus years. And I do the same thing when I make my yearly schedule. And so every summer, my family participates in a summer activity that does not mesh well with homeschooling. So before Memorial Day weekend, when our summer life starts, we have to be done with school. We just flat out have to be done. It is the only way to maintain my sanity and my children's education. And so when I get out my yearly calendar, I start at the end. We must be done by Memorial Day. And then I work backwards. We need certain holidays off. We need travel times off. I always assume that there's going to be like a week of sickness, maybe not in a row, but I schedule about a week for days that school just is not going to happen. I schedule in my work trips, and then I count backwards. And when I have enough days, then I know that we need to start on a certain date, and it's usually about the middle of August. Now, because I have to be done by Memorial Day, and we don't start until the middle of August, I'm not a year-round homeschooler. Your mileage may vary. That is entirely the point of this conversation. I know that we sometimes work on winter weekend days, or we'll sometimes do extra reading during the week, or whenever we can fit extra little bits in, we sometimes do that. That might be your nightmare. If you think to yourself, I am never, ever doing school of any kind after 2:00, hard pass, then your schedule is going to look different than mine because your priorities are different than mine. But if you make decisions knowing what your priorities are and what your goals are, then making these day-to-day decisions, can we take a day off for a field trip? Do we need to work the day before Thanksgiving? Making those decisions becomes really, really easy. For me, I know that if we are like cooking, prepping all day the day before Thanksgiving, school will not happen. So I'm just not going to plan for that. You might not have any prep to do. Maybe you're going to your mom's, or you're not having a big Thanksgiving until the weekend. And so that Wednesday can absolutely be a school day for you, and that keeps you on schedule. Then do that. One of the other questions we get, should I skip a book? Is it okay to skip a book? Should we skip this book? Again, my priorities are probably going to be different than your priorities. But if I make decisions based on what I know is important to me, the answer to that question becomes really, really obvious. So in my homeschool, my kids are allowed to just pass on one book a year. I do not like every book I read as an adult. I will sometimes read about 10% of the book and think, like, this is not holding my attention, this is not interesting, and just put it down. Not every book. I don't even do it a lot. But there are some times where I think this is not worth my while to continue reading this. And so I give my kids the same pass, one a year. Maybe that makes you itch and you think your kids have to read every single book. Then you know that your answer to, can I skip this book, is no. Maybe you are the kind of mom or dad who thinks, they're getting so many books with Sonlight. If we skip a couple, no big deal. If we read half, no big deal. Homeschool families come in all shapes and sizes and philosophies, and that is okay. But if you think it's totally fine to skip a couple of books a year, then you know your answer is probably, sure, we can skip this one, no big deal. One of my greatest challenges as a homeschool mom has always been science experiments. I'm not a science experiment fun kind of mom. It's a real challenge to me to get those in. I don't think we ever had a year I did every science experiment. This is like my true confession. But I know that I pick and choose what I feel like the important ones are. I know that I can watch science experiments either on the Discover and Do or like on YouTube. A lot of the experiments are quite standard. And so watching it is better than not doing it at all. Doing it is best, but like, I feel like if we do most of them, either by us doing it or by watching it, then like, I'm good. Maybe that makes you itch and you really feel like your kids need to do every single science experiment. That is cool. So when you say to yourself, oh, can we skip this? If skipping it is just going to make you anxious, or you really, really feel like it's truly important to do whatever that science experiment is, then your answer is going to be no. If you are a mom of a lot of young children and you're really overwhelmed and you think, gosh, it's September, we've already done 2. I feel like I'm crushing it. Do we really have to do this one? Because my parents are going to be in town and I have to go grocery shopping and the baby's sick. Maybe it's okay to just skip this one or put it off and do it later. That's okay. There is not one right answer. There's never going to be one right answer. Homeschoolers are too individual, family to family, even kid to kid, and certainly year to year. So if you think about what you want the goal to be, if your goal is we are going to read every single book, you're not going to skip books. If your goal is I really want my kids to love to read, if they're going to hate this book and this is going to be a gigantic battle, maybe we should just like hold off. Maybe I can save it for later. Maybe we can find it on audio. Maybe we can read it in the summer as a read aloud. I don't know. Maybe you just think, I'll just skip it. Then for you, skipping the book or postponing the book is okay. So when you see these questions from other people, should I, shouldn't I? Is it okay? What's the right way? I encourage you, if you see that thread on the app or on the Facebook group, to maybe ask the good questions of each other, and definitely ask those questions of yourself when you're trying to make these day-to-day decisions. Which answer will get you closer to your goal? And this goes all the way from the beginning homeschool years all the way through high school. I really agonized with how much math do my kids need? And I realized, oh good, the sun's going down. No more shadows. I realized that none of my kids wanted to go to like super elite colleges. None of my kids were setting out to be engineers or scientists when they were in high school. And so they took math like every year, but then when they got to the end and hadn't done, like senior year, well, we haven't done calculus. For my family, for my particular children, it was not an emergency that we fit that in. They all got into the colleges they wanted to go to. We had no negative effects. And now I have one who is majoring in something that she's going to need calculus for. And you know what? She's going to take it in college. And that's okay. And so we made the right decision for her at the time. And then even though the plan changed, it's still going to be okay. So begin with the end in mind, work backwards from what is the goal to, how does that affect today's decision? And hopefully that gives you a little bit of insight into what the right answer is going to be, because really the right answer is only going to be what is the right answer for you and your family today. So have a great week, everybody, and I will talk to you next time. If you have questions, ask them in the comments, and I will absolutely come back and answer those.